Guess what dessert is the #1 favorite in the United States? Are you ready? Well, it's cheesecake. My favorite type of cheesecake is the ricotta cheesecake, and this week I'm going to show you how to make it. That's this week on Cooking Made Easy with June, brought to you by Macy's, the happy shopping store in Spanish Fork. Hi, welcome to Cooking Made Easy with June, and today we are making cheesecake. Now, there are so many different kinds of cheesecakes, of course, but today we're making the one with ricotta. So it's ricotta and cream cheese, okay? So now I kind of have a love-hate relationship with cheesecake. When I started making cheesecake, I'll just start while I'm talking. First, we need to spray our pan, prepare our pan. I would just do it in a regular pan, not a springform pan. And some of you may not have a springform pan. But if you happen to have a springform pan, you need to spray it a little bit on the sides and also on the bottom. Oh, that's my oven. Let me go. Okay, it's ready. So you set the oven to 350 and then you prepare your pan. Now, when I use a regular pan, I've used a pie plate before, and that's okay too. You just won't have that pretty perfect little round of the traditional cheesecake. However, you could just leave it in your pan after you bake it and then slice it up, and it tastes just perfectly fine. So now this cheesecake recipe calls for a 9-inch springform pan, but for some reason I have a 10-inch. So my cheesecake is going to be a tiny bit, not as deep, but not as tall, but it's going to be more a wide cheesecake. And honestly, I can't eat a whole regular size anyway, so this is going to be good for me. So anyway, so we spray that lightly, and then we just make the filling. So this, a lot of people, I think even today, Adam was like, yeah, cheesecake is hard to make. I don't know if it's really hard to make. I think it's just time consuming. But honestly, it's really not. The traditional style New York cheesecake just calls for cream cheese, eggs, and sugar, and you whip it up. But this recipe calls for ricotta and sour cream, and it's so good, it's light. However, the longest or the most, arduous part is really the baking, because we're going to bake it for an hour and then let it sit in the oven for an hour, and then we're going to let it cool overnight. So I think that the hardest part about cheesecake is that it needs to, you need to just follow the steps, and it takes a long time before it's ready to eat. So you have to plan. And I have had the no-bake cheesecake. A lot of people love the no-bake cheesecake, and it is good. Anything with cream cheese is so good, right? But I love the baked kind. So anyway, so you start out with two packs of 8 ounces of cream cheese, and of course Macy's has cream cheese. Macy's has so many things, and so I love Macy's. Besides, they provide all the ingredients for us. Thank you, Macy's. So we have the cream cheese, and then we just take a mixer, and we're just going to, I'm going to go ahead and add the ricotta with this. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to add 2 cups of ricotta, 16 ounces. They have, for some reason, they have a container size that says 15 ounces, so it was short like a tablespoon, which annoyed me a little bit. So we're going to do 2 cups. So this is, okay, I better measure. Okay, let me get my cup. So we're going to do 2 cups of ricotta cheese. Some people, you know how when you make lasagna, they substitute ricotta with cottage cheese, but I don't think we can substitute ricotta cheese with cottage cheese for a cheesecake, for a ricotta cheesecake. Then it wouldn't be a ricotta cheesecake, right? It would be a cottage cheese cream cheese cheesecake. Too long of a title. Okay, so that's about 1 cup. Then we're going to do another one. I also noticed that different brands of ricotta look a little different, and this one looks so fresh. And I got this at Macy's. So now we have 2 cups of ricotta, which is approximately 16 ounces. And then we're going to just mix it together. Into the, now, you're supposed to have softened cream cheese, but I just took this out like 20 minutes ago, and it's not too bad. can use a stand-up mixer also, but either way, you still have to make sure you scrape the sides a little bit. And then we go from there. I start out slow and then I go faster. And that's all. Then we add 1.5 cups of sugar. And I don't want to go get another one, so I'm just gonna, oh goodness, I'll get sugar in my cup. I better get another one. All right, this is a 1/2 cup. So 1.5 cups of white sugar, 1, 2, that's 1 cup and a half. So I'm gonna start slow to not splatter my sugar. And then kind of turn the bowl around a little bit. And then we'll. So the first recollection of me making cheesecake was actually in high school. I think I was in the 9th grade. I'm so weird. But my dad was in the military, and my dad was an officer, and so she has like little parties with the officers' wives, and so they had a little luncheon at my house one day. So anyway, let me keep going. 4 eggs, and of course we like to crack it in here. So in case we get shells, let me move this over. Just in case we get shells, we want to not get shells in there. It's hard to get out. You know, people always have you seen people try to crack really fast at the Food Network and they're having a contest? Well, they always get shells, I'm sure. Was that 4? No, 1, 2, 3, no. 4. No, we need 4 eggs. Okay, there we go. So now we have 4 eggs, and we're going to gradually put it in here. That wasn't real gradual, but that's okay. So we're going to mix that together. I like to stir it too while I'm mixing it, because I'm always thinking this is so boring, but sometimes it's not boring when you're cooking for yourself. When I don't have to talk, I'm just watching myself cook. It's actually really relaxing to watch the mixer go. Okay, and that's it. Now we add a tablespoon of lemon juice. So I found that about a medium-sized lemon juice is about 1 tablespoon. So I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze that in there, and it's about a tablespoon. There we go. And then, I love that smell. Okay, so then we add vanilla, cornstarch, and flour, a teaspoon of vanilla, and you know I don't really measure, that's about a teaspoon. And then 3 tablespoons of flour and 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. 1, 2, and 3. And cornstarch is also 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, I have to count out loud. Oh my gosh, if I don't, then I mess up. Don't you hate it when someone starts talking to you and you're cooking? So see, I'm like, oh my gosh, my whole batch, was that 3 cups or 2 cups? So you gotta take a chance or start all over again. So, there you go. All right, so you don't have to really mix it all the way, just a little bit like that, because we're going to mix it some more. And scrape it down a little bit. Okay, and the last, then we're gonna gradually add a little bit butter. This is a melted and cooled 1 stick or 1/2 cup of butter. Now the traditional cheesecake, honestly, it just has cream cheese and eggs, but I really like this one. So, and then we also have a pint, which is approximately 2 cups of sour cream. Ooh, so many things, but look at all this creaminess. And this cheesecake is not as sweet as a traditional one, but it's so good. So there's the sour cream. Now I should have gotten a bigger bowl, I suppose. I'm going to be careful here. But it makes for good entertainment when we mess up, right? If you've been watching the show, 3 years now? I can't remember. We've had so many mess ups. and behind the scenes. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna do with that. We don't wanna really whip up too much. So I'm put my spoon there, so that's it. I'm going to, now when I was looking at this, some people like to do a couple things. They like to cook cheesecake in a bath of water. But actually, I'm going to do this. I am going to do that. Some of you don't have to, but I have not, because I've done it without the batch before, but in this recipe I have. So the big thing that you have to do with that is that you need to line your pan, because if it's spring form, if it's just a pan, you know, that doesn't have these seats in it, you don't need to do this. So I'm just going to put layers of foil down and wrap it with foil before I put it into the bath of water. I'm gonna, while I'm doing them, turn my tap water on to really hot. My tap gets really hot. Some people put boiling, but I just put hot tap water and it works fine. So I'm gonna put another layer here and another layer here. And then I'm just going to put the pan right in the middle and fold it up so that way it's really, really, but we don't want it in the pan, so it's really sealed on the bottom. Okay, so I'm just gonna do this. And the batter won't go to the very top and it won't fry, so I'm just gonna barely cover the edge to get it in here like that. Just mainly we don't want it to seep into the bottom of the pan. Okay, so I'm just going to pour this in here. So in the beginning of the segment, I heard the oven make that little beeping sound. That it's ready, so I preheated it to 350. And now I'm going to just put all that goodness in here. Okay. And all right. So now I have a big pan. Now, again, most of you will probably have a 9-inch pan, and this is a 10-inch pan. Let me pull that up a little bit because it will rise a little bit. And so, okay, so I'm going to put hot water into this. And I have this one bowl. I'm rinsing off my bowl first, sorry. It's okay if I get a little batter in there, I guess. So I'm gonna put my bowl. Anyways, I will just put some in here just to show you. So you just carefully, I'm gonna put more in here, but just for the sake of the show, I'm going to. So I'm gonna get more, and I'm gonna fill it up to about halfway or 3/4, probably 2/3, no more than that. And then I'm going to stick this whole thing into the oven for 1 hour, and then turn off the oven and let it sit in the oven for another hour. So I'm gonna take a break now, and when we come back, I'm going to make a raspberry sauce. So don't go away, come back while I get this ready and put in the oven. All right, our cheesecake is in the oven, and I'm going to be honest with you, I do not have a recipe for my raspberry sauce. Raspberry sauce, or even strawberry sauce, or any kind of fruit sauce, you can even make blueberry sauce. All it is like a lighter, a thinner jam. I've even used before, if I get a really good jam that has chunks of raspberries, you can also like embellish that by adding a little bit of water and lemon juice, and it'll just taste like this great sauce that you would want to put over something like cheesecake or pound cake or whatever. So I'm going to try to make a recipe for you as we go along. Now, we don't always have the luxury of fresh berries, right? So this is a frozen berries are perfect for sauces, and they're also less expensive than fresh berries. So I'm just gonna start measuring. I do want to make a lot of sauce, because you can always, sauce will last forever. You can freeze it. You could put it in a jar. I mean, you could do so much with it. So I've got 3 cups, right? So let me try to do this. I'm just estimating. 4, see, I have to count out loud. 5, that's about 5 cups. 5 1/4 if you want to be exact. But I want to say that's about 5 cups of berries. And then I'm going to turn the stove on, because it is frozen. I'm going to turn on high, But because it's China, you don't want to scorch anything still, so you have to be careful. But it probably won't scorch because we're going to go ahead and pour. Oh, I better measure again. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and put in, make a little bit of a cornstarch paste. Now, it depends on how much sugar you put in, so you have to determine if you are going to really need this or not. But if you want it to be saucy, you're going to need this. So let me find my spatula. So I have spatula. I'm going to just stir it a little bit right there. Okay, so we can stir it again. The other thing that besides the raspberries and let's put the sugar. Let's start out because we have about 5 cups. Oh, let me just guess. I'm going to use this one. Okay, let's start out with maybe 2 cups. So about half. I know it's a lot of sugar, but that's what sauces are. I guess we can always add more sugar. So let me start with, that's 1 cup. 1.5 cups, and we have 5 cups of berries. So I'm going to keep adjusting as we taste it. So I did 1.5 cups and 5 cups. Okay, so now we're going to add lemon, lime, lime and lemon. You could do both. I honestly love limes, but lemons will be good also. So I'm going to cut the lemon. I'm going to score it so that we can squeeze as much as we can out. Use my little nifty squeezer here. Okay, I'm going to pour a little water because I have this on high, so I'm pouring a little bit of water on the bottom. I'm going to say 1/2 cup of water to start off with. We don't want to put lots of water because we rather have mostly the raspberry juice and the lime juice and the sugar, right? So this lime is going to be about 1 tablespoon of lime juice. So I want to say with 5 cups, I want to put, well, you know, raspberries are a little tart anyways, but the lime adds a lot. So I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of lime for now. We can adjust. All right, we have that, sugar, and let me get this spatula that has a little spoon-like thing to stir. And this spatula will withstand higher temperatures, so you can cook with this particular spatula. Make sure you don't use just a regular one. See, look, if you look in here, I put 1/2 cup of water for the sauce, but probably could have gone by with maybe 1/4 cup. That's okay. See. All right, so now it's warming up really quickly. I want to taste it and see in a minute. I'll let that boil. Okay, so let's talk about sauces a little bit. Now, cheesecake has raspberries. Some people don't love the raspberries because it has the little seeds. That's what they say. So then you want to go with strawberries. Now, strawberries have little seeds too, but strawberries are less prominent with the little seeds. So another thing that people love on cheesecake are the canned cherries, which like they use for cherry pie, and you can use that. That's kind of traditional, and I didn't finish telling you my story. That reminds me. When my mother would host, the first time I made cheesecake was when my mother hosted a officers' wives luncheon. And I was in high school, and she was like, and she, you know, she's Thai, she doesn't do a lot of baking and cooking, so I pulled out, now this is gonna age me, I love the Betty Crocker cookbook. I have this old Betty Crocker cookbook, and it's still, well, actually I bought a 2nd edition, so this was back in the, I'll tell you my age myself, in the 70s. And so everybody used Betty Crocker cookbook. And this one was not spiral bound, and so I ended up having to buy a spiral bound one later. But I still go back to my old one, all torn apart, and I put it in a plastic wrap. Anyways, so I'm gonna keep this on high so I can boil it and boil it. See, look at that. It's really thin right now. You know, next time I'm gonna say we only need like 1/4 cup of water. You guys are watching how I normally do things. 1/4 cup of water. And because, like I said, when it melts the sugar and the raspberries, we have that real juice in there. Okay, so anyway, so I looked in her Betty Crocker's cookbook, and I made cheesecake, and it turned out really good. I didn't have a springform pan. I just used it in a pie pan, and it was so good. Just cream cheese, sugar, and eggs. So good. And we used the canned cherries. The canned cherries are so popular back then. Now everybody likes to do pitted cherries, and you can get extra sour cherries. You can get canned Oregon sour pitted cherries or no sugar cherries. Go on and on and on. We have so many things here in America now. But then prices keep going up, right? So if you're going to spend money on food, you might as well do it fresh and homemade. I'm going to get a spoon. I'm going to taste my little raspberry sauce. I might not have time to thicken it with you, but I'm going to just taste it. Ooh, that's really good. Okay. So, but you know, I think I'm going to add a little bit more lime juice. I'm going to say we're going to add 2 tablespoons of lime juice. Lime juice is not as tangy as lemon juice. So, I'm just going to do that. Now, if I only added a 1/4 cup of, I'll post it, of water instead of a 1/2 cup of water, I don't think I would need, I would still add the lime juice, but I think I would use less water. It'll still be so good. Because the cheesecake is going to be kind of bland, but yummy. Okay, so I'm going to put down 2 tablespoons or 2 limes. Oh gosh, my hand is wet. I'm going to add 2 limes. Lemon juice or lime juice, 2 tablespoons, and 1/4 cup of water, and cornstarch just in case. Okay, actually, so what I'm going to do, if you guys, now it tastes good, so I'm going to take a break. What I'm going to do is while we're on our break, I'm going to bring it to a boil, and as you know, we're going to take a mixture of about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and a little bit of water and just gradually add it while it's boiling and thicken it, right? So maybe we'll have time to do that. Maybe we'll take a break and come back and do that at the end, and I'll have to pull out the cheesecake. Okay, so come back, let's finish the sauce and put it on top of our cheesecake. You guys, I keep saying this. You see that smoke coming out? Well, you can smell all this fragrant raspberry sauce. So I tasted it and it was awesome. So I'm going to gradually pour a little bit at a time, depending on how thick you want your sauce. Now bear in mind that when it cools down, it's going to be even more thick. But really, you can't fail it because you're going to, you can always thin it back down again. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and turn this back up. Here, you see how that is? Oh, you guys, you either need to use fresh raspberries or frozen raspberries. There's no way, no bits. What's that? How do you say that? Sometimes my second English language as a language comes out wrong. I can't think of the words, but look at that. Oh gosh. Okay, so now it's really hot. I'm going to turn that off, and as it cools, it'll be more thick. But it's almost like making jam, right? Oh, you guys. Okay, so let me explain this. An hour in the oven on 350, you turn it off, leave it in there for another hour, and then you take it out, and then you put it in the fridge and cool overnight. It needs to be at least overnight. That's really why people think it's so hard. It's not hard. It's just that it's long process and you have to plan ahead. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and I'm going to, now you can just keep it like this. I'm not going to put sauce on top. I'm just going to put a few, these are frozen raspberries, but you can use, of course you would want to use fresh raspberries. So I'm just going to put a few raspberries in here, and then I'm going to cut, you can go as wide as you want. But some people like to make it a sauce and put it on top and let it go, but my sauce is too hot right now. Ideally, you want to make the sauce ahead and then let it cool, and then you're going to be just fine with it. So, or strawberries, have you seen strawberries on top? Okay, so we have that, and I found just a tiny bit of green is going to make it even more pretty like that, right? Look at that. Okay, so now, all right, I have to confess, I cannot lie to you. I overcooked this a little bit because I forgot. So it's a crack, but if you make it and follow the instructions, it's not going to have a lot of these cracks, but it's still going to taste delicious. So I'm going to do a tiny sliver on the back of it. Oh, look at that. Let me show, I don't know if the camera's on this. I'm just going to cut a tiny piece, not to break, because I'm just going to, Actually, you know what? I don't know what to do. Should I make a big piece and have a piece on the plate? Let me think about that one. We might do that for our pictures. But I'm just gonna, this is for taste. let's pour some raspberry sauce on here. How do I carefully do that? Okay, we got this on camera. Ooh, you guys, this is so good. Oh my goodness, so yummy. Okay, I'm gonna taste it. Look, it looks just like it's not as dense as the other kind of cream cheese. I'm just putting a tiny bit of sauce on mine, or a lot of sauce. So excited. Now again, it's not gonna be warm sauce, but personally I like warm things, but it's gonna be cool sauce. Really, again, ricotta cream cheesecake is not as sweet. It's a little bit lighter, and it's not as dense, so I could probably eat, so you can eat more. You can eat a whole big piece of cheesecake, and it'll be so good. Okay, you guys can make cheesecake. It's not hard. It's so easy. You just have to make a plan. So go and rewind my show and go watch it over and over again, and you can make this beautiful cheesecake and everyone will rave and love you forever. So until next time, happy cooking.